Hey, I'm Pete with Mosko Moto. I'm just getting packed up to take off on a month-long trip to South America. I'll be traveling on a BMW 850 GS, and I wanted to show you some of the things I'm taking with me. It's summer there, but not particularly warm. It's going to be chilly at night for sure, and probably wet, some rain along the way. In each segment of my kit, which is my camping gear, my cooking gear, my tools, and my clothing, I'm going to show you the key pieces so you can get a sense of how I prepare for a trip like this. Let's start with camping gear. My sleeping bag is, I've had this for a long time. This is a down Marmot Phase 20 bag. It actually packs really small. This is in the OEM stuff sack. I prefer to put my sleeping bag in a stuff sack instead of the compression sack if I possibly can, because it's just a lot easier to pack that way. In there I've also got a soft pillowcase that I use in conjunction with this X-Ped pillow to make a pretty good sized pillow. I like a big pillow at night. This is inflatable, the X-Ped, so that system works pretty well for me. I've got my Nomadix camp towel. So this is a pack towel. It just folds up real small, but also is a pretty good sized towel. Good for taking showers, taking a dip, dipping in a hot spring or whatever. Then for a sleeping pad, I've got my Nemo Tensor. This is the non-insulated version. They also make an insulated version that's a little bit larger than this one is. But I got the non-insulated because it packs smaller and it still has some R value. So it's not completely non-insulating. And I find it works pretty well in everything except the coldest temperatures. I have a warmer sleeping pad too I use on real winter trips. And then finally, of course, the key part of my camping kit is my Big Agnes Copper Spur 2-man bike packing tent. This is the entire tent. So these are the poles. You can see the poles are quite a bit shorter than a normal backpacking tent. That makes them just exceptionally easy to pack on a motorcycle. This whole thing packs up really small. It's a 2-man tent. It's plenty roomy. It's got 2 nice big vestibules. So I'm a big fan of this tent. I have the 3-man version too. I've been using that for a while. On this trip, I definitely plan to be camping. So this isn't what I would consider an emergency camping kit. This is like my full-blown camping kit. And so I want to be comfortable. I want to have a nice comfortable pad, a decent sized tent, and a good warm sleeping bag. For cooking stuff, I'm bringing my Snow Peak pot and cup combo. It's titanium, it's super light, and I pack stuff in there so it won't take up too much space on my panniers. I've got my coffee mug, that fits perfectly in there. I've got my Snow Peak spork, which I bend over because that makes it a little easier to fit inside my pot and cup. I always bring 1 meal worth of very simple, dry emergency food to start. I'll get more groceries once I'm down there. And of course, I'll restock as I travel. So this is, hopefully I'll end the trip with this food as well. I won't actually consume it. That's just to know that if I end up in an emergency camping situation, I'll have something with me. I've got a tiny little pocket rocket style stove. So normally on an international trip, I would take a stove that runs off liquid fuel, specifically unleaded gasoline, like the MSR International, and then I bring a fuel bottle with a pump. In Chile, where I'm headed, I think that fuel canisters should be widely available, so I'm not too concerned with that, and bringing the little canister stove takes up quite a bit less space. For coffee making, I've got my GSI little mini pour-through coffee maker. This thing's great, packs tiny, weighs nothing. I'm taking a water filter. This is the Katahdin 1-liter squeeze bottle filter. I like these because they pack so small. You know, it packs almost nothing, and actually they're pretty effective and they filter water pretty quickly. They're very easy to use. You just have to make sure that you protect this when it's inside your pannier so it's not rubbing against anything that eats its way through. And then finally, I've got my HydroPack 3-liter water storage. So I feel like water is going to be pretty readily available down there. So I'll have a few liters in my tank bag, and then I'll have this along with me and a water filter, and that way I don't have to carry a lot of water, which of course is one of the heaviest parts of my kit. Okay, that's it for the cooking kit. Why don't we take a look at tools? The biggest thing in my toolkit, of course, is our fatty tool roll. This is stocked up with all of my tools from home. I'm sure when I get there, there'll be some BMW specific tools I need to bring with me. This is really set up for KTMs. But I feel like it's got a normal assortment of like Allen keys and sockets and wrenches and stuff like that, tire irons, things that'll work on any bike. So I don't feel like picking it apart. So even though this is a large, heavy thing to bring, I'm taking it. Then I'm taking a power electric air pump, always a tow rope. This also can work as a tie down in an emergency. I've got a tire repair kit, some zip ties. I always bring an assortment of moto straps. These are Volet straps that we just brand Mosko Moto. I bring both lengths. I may not take all of these with me on the trip, but I've just noticed when I'm packing up on trips, like I always want more of these things. And so when I show up, I like to have a stash of them. And then finally, I'm taking a real simple first aid kit. This is just an off-the-shelf kit by Adventure Medics. They're not very expensive, and it's an easy thing to throw in your bag. And then if you need some antibiotic ointment, Band-Aids, things like that. It's always in there. And then for larger injuries, I bring one of these Israeli bandages. Okay, that's it for the tools I'm bringing. I've already done a video about the riding apparel I'm bringing. That's a separate video. You can find that on our YouTube channel. Now I'm going to talk about the clothes that I'm bringing for off-bike use. So for clothing, one of the unique things about this trip is that I'm not just camping. This isn't strictly a dual sport trip. This is also a travel trip. So I'm going to be out exploring, probably going for some hikes, walking around town, sometimes in hotels, sometimes camping. And I want to look at least moderately presentable, or at least have the ability to look moderately presentable. So I'm packing quite a bit more in terms of clothing than I would typically take on a kind of dual sport trip or backcountry discovery route trip here in the US. For pants, I've got 2 pairs of pants. These are both relatively packable pants, by the way. The first one is the Fjallraven Greenland jeans. They pack up pretty small and they're super tough, and it's a nice pant. I wear these to work normally. And then the second pair of pants is a much smaller pant. This is the Prana Zion stretch pant. This thing packs down tiny. I don't have it rolled up real small right now. Having a second pair of pants is really a luxury, and so I'm happy to take a kind of a small packable travel pant as my backup. I'll typically keep one of these pants clean and let the other one get dirty over the course of the trip. So one is for like camping, tinkering with a bike and stuff like that. And I'll try to keep the other one for towns and hotels and restaurants. Socks is an area where I definitely don't skimp. On this trip, I've got 2 pairs of warm socks, Darn Toughs, and then 2 pairs of mountain biking socks. So I've got 4 pairs of socks. I just always like to have extra socks in case my feet start to stink or if they get wet somehow. It's really nice to have dry, warm socks when I need them. I've got 2 t-shirts, Mosko t-shirts. For shoes, I'm taking the Olukai Moloas, M-O-L-O-A. And these I like because they're leather slippers, so there's no laces, but they have very little structure to them in the sidewalls and the heel. The heel can fold in, so they pack down really small, and you can kind of stack them on top of each other, crush them, and then use a moto strap or volet strap to hold them together. They're small, but they got nice stout soles. And when I'm in towns or in the city and I want to go out, they look like normal shoes, but then they're great for camping as well. For boxers, I got 2 pairs of boxers. In addition to these clothes, I'll also probably bring one kind of cozy flannel type shirt like the one I'm wearing now if I have space in my bags. And then I'll also bring our Ectotherm jacket. Of course, this is our heated jacket. I wear that on the bike. I plug it into the bike, it warms up. But unlike most heated jackets, this isn't just a liner. It's a fully insulated jacket that works great off the bike like a normal puffy. It's got Primaloft Gold insulation, which is an awesome aerogel insulation. So it's really warm even when it's not plugged into the bike, and it's totally normal looking. It's a normal looking jacket, so I don't mind wearing it out to restaurants or around hotels or whatever. And then our Strata mid layer, this is a New Yarn Merino mid layer, but it's also a very comfortable off-bike hoodie. It's got a kangaroo pocket and a hood, a removable hood, so you can take that off when you're on the bike, snap it on when you're off the bike, pull it up. It's great for sleeping in, or you can pull it over your t-shirt or your base layer, and it's quite presentable. It looks just like any normal kind of casual hoodie. Nobody would ever guess it was a technical riding mid layer. And then for my electronics, I bring all my books on a Kindle. I love having a Kindle. I get this thing fully loaded. I read it in my tent. I read it in hotels. I read it a lot. So that's a lot easier than bringing, obviously, a whole stack of paper books. And then finally, I have my iPad Pro. This is actually in a prototype of our laptop case. But this is key. This is my way of editing footage when I do photography, or videography rather, make videos, and then I can also watch a movie on it if I find decent Wi-Fi or whatever. I have a small keyboard that also comes with me, so I can type blogs and things like that. Well, it probably won't surprise you to know that I'm flying down with all my own luggage. Of course, the rental company I'm working with provides panniers, but they're hard boxes. I don't really like riding with hard boxes. Plus, I know if I drop the bike on them, I'm going to do some damage and there's going to be a huge bill at the end. So instead, for this trip, I'm bringing our Backcountry 35 panniers. I've got them set up with 4 aux pockets, so I'll have plenty of space. I got the Nomax tank bag with the Navigator cell phone pouch, and then I'm taking our Backcountry 40 duffel, and I've got an aux box rigged on the beaver tail of that duffel. Okay, that's my kit for this trip. If you have any questions about any of the things I've talked about or any of the gear I'm taking, please leave me a comment below. I'm happy to respond and get you an answer, or you can always send a note to our customer service department and they'll get right back to you as well. Thank you so much for watching.